and welcome to the Entertainment Science Fiction Programming Network, your entertainment sci-fi programming network. And today we're talking about the Matrix Resurrection, resurrecting the Matrix. And so we say, bonjour, ohayo gozaimasu, zao shanghao, zao an, buenos dias, and hello. So the Matrix Resurrection lives up to its title. It's resurrecting the trilogy, the past three Matrix movies, and that it does right away. So straight away in the Matrix Resurrection, it brings up one of the original scenes where you see Trinity breaking into a warehouse and the guards about to capture Trinity in the warehouse. And it brings back a lot of the old sayings, you see. So sayings that we remember from past Matrix, for instance, when the Sentinels know the Trinity's there, but the guards are catching up to Trinity, so the Sentinels are passing the lieutenant whose guards, who police officers are in there about to capture Trinity. And the lieutenant says to the Sentinels, there's no need for you guys to go in there. My men can handle a little girl. And then the Sentinel says, no, Lieutenant, your men are already dead. And well, they were already dead because Trinity gets away from them. She takes off running. Now, in the Matrix Resurrection, there's a story twist because the new Matrix cast, who's part of the Resurrection, are actually looking at this older scene, right? So they're using old codes to see if they can find new things. So in the old code or the old story, Trinity takes off running and she gets away. But here in the Resurrections, Trinity takes off running, but she gets caught. There's a twist. This is how it all began. This is how he began, because that old code is how the Matrix started. Trinity gets caught and something different happens. The new cast, looking at Trinity, one of the members is Captain Bugs, as in Bunny. And we're going to talk about that. Captain Bugs, as in Bunny, is relevant to, the name is relevant to the Matrix. There are a lot of connections made in this Matrix, and we're going to make them all. Stick with us. We're going to make all the connections. It's a thinking movie anyway to start with, right? But in addition to it being a thinking movie, there are three different worlds taking place, and then there are lots of connections going on as well. And maybe connections that you didn't even think of it, you didn't see, but we saw it, and we're going to bring it out here. That's why you're here listening to this podcast. So Captain Bugs gets involved. She goes into that old scene to try to help Trinity. And what it is, it's a modal simulation that's used to evoke programs. Now, what's new in this also is that Morpheus' beginning, we didn't know, but this resurrection brought it up. Morpheus started out as a sentinel. Never knew that. So when the Sentinels were chasing after Captain Bugs and she goes into this shop, she's about to get caught, but who saves her? Morpheus. Morpheus as a sentinel saves her. And Morpheus and Captain Bugs are facing each other. We should be enemies. I should be fighting you. But yet, here we are. Another terminology from the old Matrix being resurrected here in Matrix Resurrection. Yet here we are. And both Captain Bugs and Morpheus recognizes that they are both looking for the one. They are both looking for Neo. Captain Bugs and Morpheus see him in different patterns. Like, for instance, Morpheus, when he's taking a shower and that sweat comes down on his mirror, he sees codes that tells him he needs to find the one. He needs to find Neo. And so the actor that plays Morpheus, Yaha Abdul Mateen II, does a very good job in this movie as Morpheus. He does a good job as Morpheus in this movie. Now, he's not going to replace the original Morpheus that had a personality and a vibe of his own, but he has something new that he brings to it as a Morpheus in this movie. Excellent job. Also, Captain Bugs, as in Bunny, she has a rabbit tattooed on her shoulder. And I'm going to jump the gun a little bit, but that's the tattoo that convinces Thomas Anderson to follow her into the Matrix. You might recognize her before, and the actress is Jessica Henwick. You may recognize her as a girlfriend of Iron Fist, right-hand man of Iron Fist. That's her. So now she's playing Captain Bugs, as in Bunny, in the Matrix Resurrection. Keanu Reeves is still Thomas Anderson, and this time Thomas Anderson invented a game called The Matrix. And this game that he invented is the entire trilogy of The Matrix. And this game that he invented called The Matrix made him a world-renowned game designer. Of course, having gone in and out of the Matrix with that personal experience, he can invent this game that's now the best game in the world. And he becomes a world-renowned game designer for inventing the Matrix. In this movie also, Trinity is married. She has 2 boys. Trinity's name is Tiffany. Thomas Anderson, for some reason, always wants to meet Tiffany. And he feels like he should meet her, get to know her in this Thomas Anderson world. The CEO of the company that Thomas Anderson works for is, believe it or not, Agent Smith. So when Agent Smith calls Thomas Anderson to a meeting, it starts out with Mr. Anderson. So it brings that back. And now they sit down together because they're partners in this corporation. It's become a great corporation because of this game that Thomas Anderson has invented. So his partner, Agent Smith, are partners in this gaming company. So he's CEO Smith. And so in one of the meetings that they're having, CEO Smith brings out something that, if you're thinking, you see that there are 3 worlds, including the world of us watching the movie, involved. Because Agent Smith says to Thomas Anderson, our parent company, Warner Brothers, wants us to make a sequel of the trilogy. How about that? So our parent company, Warner Brothers, that's us watching The Matrix Resurrection. Because Warner Brothers wanted them to make a sequel of the trilogy, all 3 Matrixes. So our world where Warner Brothers is making this sequel that we're watching called Matrix Resurrection, and involved also is CEO Smith and Thomas Anderson with this company making a sequel of the trilogy Matrix Resurrection. So there's a Matrix world where Thomas Anderson becomes Neo, CEO Smith becomes Agent Smith. There's their world where there's Thomas Anderson and CEO Smith, and then there's our world where Warner Brothers wants to make a trilogy of a sequel of the trilogy. So there's three different worlds involved. All of these worlds going back to the Matrix. Thomas Anderson, from going in and out of the Matrix, builds this great company. Now, he has to have a psychiatrist because in the world of Thomas Anderson, he thinks somehow that he went into the game that he invented. And he doesn't want to believe that because I couldn't have lived in this game. So he gets a psychiatrist. And the psychiatrist is the architect. And there's no better place for the architect to be than to be the psychiatrist of Thomas Anderson, because the psychiatrist, who is really the architect, wants to always convince Thomas Anderson not to go back into the Matrix. This Matrix is a game. It's something you invented, so you couldn't have lived it. It's not true. Here, take this pill. One pill makes you larger, the other one makes you small. And the pill your mother gives you don't do anything at all. That song is sung by Jefferson Airplane. The title of that song is also connected with the Matrix. The title of that song, White Rabbit. One pill makes you larger, one pill makes you small, and the one your mother gives you don't do anything at all. White rabbit, as in follow the white rabbit, as in Bugs, as in Bunny has a white rabbit tattooed on her shoulders. So lots of connections, even with that theme song, the title of the song connected to the movie as well. What does Matrix mean? Matrix is about a world that machines have invented. And the machines are controlling humans. They keep humans entrapped in their bodies, but they keep the minds of humans alive because the machines are living off of the energy from human bodies. So they want to keep humans in a simulated dream world while they keep living off the bodies of humans. The Matrix. Also resurrected in the Matrix. Well, I can't say resurrected, but bringing some scenes because Keanu Reeves is also John Wick. So you see some connections in John Wick within the movie. The John Wick feature with the hair and the beard, the John Wick appearance. Also, when Keanu Reeves or Neo, well, what he's going to become Neo, is fighting Morpheus, and Morpheus knocks him down, he gets back up. It's like he gets back up like John Wick. So there's some John Wick-like scenes within the Matrix Resurrection. Trinity or Tiffany in the world of Thomas Anderson gets to meet Thomas Anderson. They're connected by Mr. Anderson's friend, Jude, who says, "Oh, let me help you." And so they finally get connected in this cafe and they talk, and they find out that Tiffany likes motorcycles. When you remember the Matrix, Trinity drives or rides motorcycles. So Tiffany has a motorcycle building company. She builds motorcycles with her and her partner. And in talking to Thomas Anderson, he encourages her to look at the game that he's made. She goes, looks it up and she likes it. She likes the Matrix and she connects to Trinity. She finds herself, well, Trinity is a lot like me. And Trinity likes motorcycles just like I like motorcycles. Little connections being made. And we'll bring it together towards the end how this all connects. Morpheus meets Thomas Anderson in the bathroom of this organization, the company that CEO Thomas Anderson, CEO Smith built. Morpheus now is no longer Sentinel. He knows what he has to do. He finds Thomas Anderson. He has to convince Thomas Anderson to go back with him into the Matrix. He shows Thomas Anderson the pills, one that makes you larger, one that makes you small, and the one your mother gave you, don't do anything at all. And he shows Thomas Anderson, like putting his arms through the mirror, you can go through this mirror. That's the real world. But Thomas Anderson now is, because of the influence from the psychiatrist, he's so, wait a minute, this can't be real. This is the game that I invented. And he's, no. And Morpheus is trying to convince him, yes, this is, let's go back and no. And then Thomas Anderson takes off running. Now, this sets off a host of alarms because now the Sentinels come to see what's taken place, and they're breaking into this corporation to stop Thomas Anderson from going into the Matrix and becoming Neo. And so there's a lot of chaos taking place. And also CEO Smith recognizes that he's an agent, and he starts becoming Agent Smith. Morpheus runs and starts to trying to help Thomas Anderson escape. Thomas Anderson takes off and with Morpheus' help gets out of there before Agent Smith does him harm. Thomas Anderson goes back to his apartment, and there he's found by Captain Bugs. Bugs finds him, and what convinces Thomas Anderson to follow Captain Bugs is the white rabbit tattooed on Captain Bug's arm. Follow the white rabbit. And so he follows the white rabbit, and they enter the Matrix, a different world. Now, before entering the Matrix, they showed him how the world that he was living in as CEO Smith, with CEO Smith as his partner, is not the real world. His friend Jude that had him meet Tiffany is actually a program designed to bring him down. And he's like, oh, didn't not realize that. And now he's convinced to follow them into the Matrix. And suddenly the psychiatrist shows up in the mirror to tell Thomas Anderson not to go into the Matrix. It's all in your mind. Here, take this pill and stay in this world. Don't go into the Matrix. So there's different worlds happening here. Now, I encourage you to go into TheAquaPhi.com, the TheAquaPhi.com, and purchase The Aquify, your copy of the novel. It's in Kindle, Amazon Kindle. You go in, purchase the paperback, get it in within a day or two at home. Because within the Aquify also, you'll see different worlds. It starts out with us, you and me, noticing there's a lot of scientists and engineers and people who are taking seriously what's happening in the world right now. Prevalently, they're taking seriously global warming. And they're starting to build below the seas. They learn how to build below at the deepest levels. So there's our world, That world, once they build, many years go by and they're under attack. That world's about to get shattered below the sea, so they take off in what's called the Aqua Phi, the most advanced vehicle ever. That vehicle gets caught into a vortex that brings them into our world. So here's a third world. Once they're in our world, they realize, wait a minute, we can't stay here because they're going to use our vehicle for nefarious reasons. So they go back into their world. They found out how. We find out how they went, and we want to catch up to them. We go back following them into another. So 4 different worlds. I'm giving you all away, but read about it. You'll find the excitement, the different worlds, just like in the Matrix. There's a lot of thinking going on. There's a lot of connections, a lot of worlds within the Aquify. So go into TheAquaPhi, purchase the novel. You'll find also on the merchandise associated with the Aquify. Your favorite poster has all sorts of merchandise. Some you need. The cover for your cell phone you do need, and it'll have that artwork from the Aquify on it. Purchase it. And while you're in YouTube, make sure to follow, make sure to subscribe, follow us on Facebook. We're there also. Like. So Thomas Anderson breaks free from the architect who's trying to pull him in. Morpheus and Captain Bugs help him to break free. They get into a moving portal, which is a train. But the train is actually a moving portal because when a portal is moving, it's harder for the Sentinels to track him down. And this train is moving through Tokyo. Once they get into the Matrix, of course, before that, there's all sorts of things going on where the Frenchman wants vengeance for what Thomas Anderson did to them in the last Matrix episode. His men also, they're going through it. But C.O. Smith ends up against Thomas Anderson also. They go through it. But finally, Thomas Anderson ends up in Zion, where they call him Neo. They show him also that Thomas Anderson says to the new cast of the Matrix and Matrix Resurrection, Morpheus and Captain Bugs and the new cast, and he says, in this past 30 years, and they say, wait a minute, since the last Matrix, it hasn't been 30 years. It's been 60 years. And they showed him a picture of what he should look like after 60 years. But he doesn't look like that. He looks like what he should look like after 30 years, or probably even better than what he should look like after 30 years, because he was able to alter his DSI to make him look different, while really it's been 60 years since the last Matrix. But we're thinking, and he's thinking, that it's only been 30 years. So he gets back to the Matrix, or Zion. And in Zion is no longer called Zion. It's called AI, because there, what's new to him is that there's some machines that are friends with them. He said, what? How's that happen? No, these machines have become our friends because some of the machines have realized that what the machines are doing is wrong. You can't enslave humans and put them in a dream state because you want to live off of human energy. So some machines are risking their lives to fight with humans and to help humans escape from this situation of matrix that the machines have put humans into. The new crew of this Matrix Resurrection are all children and grandchildren of the original Matrix actors, which is interesting. So a lot of them are saying, "Oh, well, my father and my grandfather helped you, and they worked with you, and now we want to work with you, and we want to help you too." So another new being in this matrix. So now it's not just humans and machines, but there's also machines and humans versus machines, and there's also what's called a exomorphic particle. So some humans have learned to use a accelerated programmatic code, which if they find in the Codex manual, how to become an exomorphic particle. So the human body becomes particles. And from there, you can particularize and change your body into particles, go somewhere else, come back as a human. And it seems as if Morpheus has learned how to do that. So now, entering into Zion, which is no longer Zion, but AI, they meet Captain Niobe, who's no longer Captain Niobe because the captain now is Captain Bugs, as in Bunny, but they meet General Niobe. And General Niobe talks about how much peace, because Neo says, looks like all this fighting we did last time brought nothing. And she shows him and convinces him that, yeah, you brought a lot. Listen to that. It's been 30 years of peace ever since what you did last. And I'm not going to mess up this peace. She puts in to prison Captain Bugs. She says Captain Bugs did not follow protocol. Captain Bugs tries to remind her how when they were fighting the machines back in her day, she's one of the ones that didn't follow protocol and says, well, there's nothing in common. And she locks up Captain Bugs for not following protocol. Neo lets her know that, listen, I'm here to find Trinity. And Trinity also is enslaved by the machines. Trinity's body is used as energy for the machines. So Trinity is in the Matrix. And so realizing that Neo wants to go back and free Trinity, General Niobe says, well, gotta lock you up too, because you might throw things out of balance trying to free Trinity and then start this whole Zion thing all over again. We don't want Zion, we want AI. So she imprisons Neo. Now, Neo gets freed from prison because Morpheus is an exomorphic particle, learns how to show up in the prison, sees how to break out, breaks Neo out, breaks Captain Bugs out of prison. Neo becomes an exomorphic particle again, and with one of the machines, frees Trinity. Trinity now is connected to, in their vehicle, connected to their vehicle instead of being connected to the machines, because one of the machines and Morpheus risked their life getting through all the machines to free Trinity. Trinity shows up as Tiffany, and as Tiffany, the psychiatrist shows up as well to try to prevent Neo from meeting Tiffany, and then convincing Tiffany that she's really Trinity and getting her back into the Matrix with him and leaving this world of Tiffany with the two boys and a husband. So the architect shows up to prevent that from happening and wants to kill, because the architect controls everybody. What's the real world? The real world is based on feelings, your feelings and emotion. makes you fight for the world that you believe in. And that world is the real world. And the architect controls feelings and emotions. And so that's how the architect has been controlling things, by controlling people's feelings and emotions. And seeing now that Neo is getting with Tiffany to make her become Trinity, he wants to prevent that from happening. If you remember one of the older scenes from The Matrix where Neo was stuck in a train station and this Indian family in the train station, well, the father is an engineer and he invented a program that freed Neo out of the train station. Now his daughter has grown up and she is in this Matrix Resurrection. She's a daughter of this engineer, because once the Frenchman realized that it was this engineer and his wife involved in freeing Neo from this train station, they were purged. And so now the daughter, of course, revenge for her parents, is helping Neo because she knows what program she can use to help Neo get back with Trinity. And so she helps Neo show up to where Tiffany is. But then the architect is there also trying to kill Tiffany. And suddenly what helps him is because Agent Smith wants to be his own man. Agent Smith doesn't want the architect to control him anymore. He wants to do his own thing. So instead of Agent Smith fighting Neo, Agent Smith now realizes he has a fight against the architect. So in this great scene, here Agent Smith fights the architect. Neo convinces Tiffany that she's Trinity, but they still don't know whether, now that she's convinced about the Matrix and that she's Trinity, will she want to stay and be the mother of two boys and wife of a husband, or will she want to become Trinity? So she decides to become Trinity and she leaves this life, and everything breaks out to try to stop them, right? And so they break free from that, because here's what the architect has known all along that you and I didn't know. And also the Oracle didn't know. The Oracle was telling everybody that Neo is the one. Morpheus in the original trilogy believed that Neo is the one. But the architect controlling everything knew all along that it was not about Neo being the one, but it was about Neo and Trinity together. And so he was making every effort to keep Neo apart from Trinity, because he knew when Neo and Trinity got together, nothing was impossible to them. They are the one, Neo and Trinity together. So as the architect is nearing his end because of Agent Smith wailing on him, the architect says, so what will you guys do now? What chance do you think that you have? And a great phrase, a great scene is something that we take away, and we want to take away as a lesson, where Neo and Trinity, they get back together and they say, there is always a second chance. There is always a second chance. No matter after 3 series, there's always a second chance. The resurrection is your second chance. No matter if you tried 20 times, you have a second chance. So never give up. There is always a second chance. It's 3 o'clock where you are. Well, maybe it's not 3 o'clock where you are. 3 o'clock somewhere in the world. Maybe it's not at 3 o'clock anywhere in the world, but it's 3 o'clock. What time is it on Mars? Remember to go in and follow, subscribe, like, and it's 3 o'clock. What time is it on Mars? We'll talk about that on our next podcast.